The Cowboys fleece the Vikings. October 1989, the Dallas Cowboys executed the most ruthless trade heist in NFL history. They shipped Herschel Walker, their only true star, to the Minnesota Vikings. In return, they got 5 players and 6 draft picks, 11 assets in total, and it remains the single largest trade ever made in the NFL. The Vikings believed Walker was their missing piece to a championship. He had rushed for over 1,500 yards in 1988, a one-man wrecking crew who could tilt the balance of power in the NFC. Minnesota swallowed his 5-year, $5 million contract. Massive money for that era, and made him their highest paid player. They weren't just trading for a runner, they thought they were buying a Super Bowl. Jimmy Johnson saw it differently. He didn't want the players Minnesota sent over. Linebacker Jesse Solomon, corner Isiak Holt, running back Darren Nelson, linebacker David Howard, defensive end Alex Stewart, they were placeholders. Johnson wanted the conditional draft picks tied to them, and once Dallas cut or flipped most of those veterans, he unlocked a treasure chest of draft capital. That treasure became the backbone of a dynasty. With one of those picks, Dallas drafted Emmitt Smith in the first round of 1990. Smith rushed for 18,355 yards and 164 touchdowns, both still NFL records. He earned 8 Pro Bowl trips, 4 All-Pro selections, and the Super Bowl 28 MVP before entering the Hall of Fame in 2010. Russell Maryland, taken first overall in 1991, a Pro Bowl defensive tackle and an anchor in the trenches. Darren Woodson, a 1992 second-rounder, became the Cowboys' all-time leading tackler, a 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, and the heart of their secondary. Kevin Smith, a 1992 first-rounder, gave Dallas nearly a decade of starting-caliber play at corner. Even later picks like Clayton Holmes contributed as depth and special teams on all 3 title squads. Out of one blockbuster trade, Dallas built a dynasty, a roster that ripped off 3 Super Bowl victories in 4 years. And Minnesota, they got 2.5 years of Herschel Walker. In 1990, he produced 1,514 rushing yards, but never led the league, never dominated defenses the way they expected, and scored just 25 touchdowns in his entire stint with the team. The Vikings went 21-18 with him, flamed out in the playoffs, let him walk away in 1992. They mortgaged their future for a dream that never arrived. Dallas stole it, weaponized it, and turned it into one of the greatest dynasties the NFL has ever seen. The 49ers steal Steve Young from the Buccaneers. The San Francisco 49ers pulled off one of the most lopsided quarterback trades in league history. They acquired Steve Young from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a 2nd-round pick and a 4th-round pick, 2 mid-rounders for a quarterback who would become one of the most dangerous players in NFL history. Young's career had looked like a disaster before. San Francisco swooped in. Out of BYU, he'd signed an absurd 43-year, $40 million deal with the USFL's Los Angeles Express, a deferred money gimmick that collapsed when the league did. The Buccaneers grabbed him in the 1984 supplemental draft and gave him a 5-year, $6 million contract, betting he'd be their savior. Instead, he became their scapegoat. From 1985 to 1986, Tampa went 3-16 with Young under center. He threw 11 touchdowns against 21 interceptions, took 68 sacks, and finished with a passer rating of just 63.1. He looked broken and raw in Tampa. The Bucs drafted Vinny Testaverde to replace him and shipped Young out the door. 2 draft picks, and he was gone. San Francisco didn't just get him cheap in trade value, they got him cheap in salary. Young was paid roughly $500,000 per year to sit behind Joe Montana, backup money for a future Hall of Famer. The 49ers let him develop slowly, refine his game, and when Montana went down, they unleashed him at full strength. From 1992 to 1998, Young was unstoppable. He threw for over 27,000 yards, 221 touchdowns, and added nearly 3,000 rushing yards with 31 more scores. He won 2 league MVP awards, led the NFL in passer rating 6 times. Super Bowl 29, he delivered one of the greatest championship performances ever. 6 touchdown passes in a 49-26 demolition of the Chargers. Only then did San Francisco finally pay him big money. In 1993, he signed a 5-year, $25.25 million extension, one of the richest contracts in football at the time. But by then, the 49ers already had their return. Tampa wasted millions, mismanaged their quarterback future, and traded away a player who still had greatness waiting inside him. San Francisco turned 2 mid-round picks into a Hall of Fame quarterback, 2 MVPs, dynasties and another Lombardi trophy. It was a masterclass in patience, vision, and opportunism, and one of the most humiliating giveaways in NFL history. Packers steal Brett Favre from the Falcons. The Green Bay Packers stole a Hall of Fame quarterback from the Atlanta Falcons, and they did it for a single draft pick. Atlanta had drafted Brett Favre in the second round in 1991. They signed him to a 3-year, $1.4 million rookie deal, but head coach Jerry Glanville had no faith in him. Favre attempted just 4 passes his rookie year. 2 were incompletions, 2 were interceptions. That was it. He never started a game, never had the chance to prove himself, and Atlanta was ready to move on before he'd even gotten started. Green Bay's new general manager, Ron Wolf, wasn't fooled. He had scouted Favre heavily coming out of Southern Miss and believed he had the arm talent to change a franchise. So Wolf made his first major move as GM. He sent the 19th overall pick in the 1992 draft to Atlanta for Favre. The Falcons used that pick on running back Tony Smith, Favre's own college teammate. Smith lasted just 3 years, rushing for 329 yards, scoring 0 touchdowns, and disappearing from the league by 1994. Green Bay got everything Atlanta threw away. They inherited Favre's rookie contract, backup level money, just $310,000 in 1992, and when starter Don Majkowski went down with an injury in week 3, Favre came in cold, threw the game-winning touchdown, and never left the field again. Over the next 6 years, Favre rewrote the Packers' history. He won 3 consecutive MVP awards from 1995 to 1997. He threw for over 25,000 yards and 213 touchdowns in that span alone. He led Green Bay to back-to-back Super Bowls, winning Super Bowl XXI in dominant fashion, and he did it while still playing under contracts that paid him less than many backups around the league. Only later, after he was already a legend, did the Packers finally pay him like one. In 1995, after back-to-back Pro Bowls, Favre signed a 5-year, $19 million extension, still a bargain for what he delivered. By 2001, he was the highest paid player in the NFL with a 10-year, $101.5 million contract. Atlanta gave up on him after 4 passes. Green Bay built an icon. One side wasted a draft pick on a player who vanished. The other side turned that same pick into a quarterback who defined an era. It remains one of the most brutal examples of short-sightedness in NFL history. The Patriots steal Randy Moss from the Raiders. The New England Patriots fleeced the Oakland Raiders in one of the greatest trade heists the NFL has ever seen. They got Randy Moss, one of the most dangerous receivers in football history, for a single 4th-round pick. At the time, Moss looked finished. Oakland had traded for him in 2005, taking on the massive 8-year, $75 million contract he'd signed in Minnesota. Nearly $9.5 million per year, one of the richest deals in the league. But instead of dominance, they got disappointment. In 2 seasons as a Raider, Moss caught just 102 passes for 1,558 yards and 11 touchdowns. His 2006 season was rock bottom, 42 receptions, 553 yards, 3 scores. Critics accused him of quitting on plays, of not even running routes at full speed. He looked like a star who had already burned out, so Oakland cut their losses. They dumped him to New England for pennies on the dollar, a single mid-round pick for a player once considered the most unstoppable weapon in the game. The Patriots wasted no time resurrecting him. They tore up his bloated contract and restructured it into a modest 1-year, $3 million deal with incentives. For less than a third of what Oakland had been paying him, New England paired Moss with Tom Brady and gave him a new chance. The results were historic. Moss exploded for 98 catches, 1,493 yards, and an NFL record 23 touchdown receptions in 2007. Tom Brady shattered the single-season passing touchdown record with 50. Together, they led the Patriots to a perfect 16-0 regular season, the first since the 1972 Dolphins. It was one of the greatest offensive seasons in football history. Meanwhile, Oakland used the 4th-round pick on cornerback John Bowie. He played in 5 career games. No starts, no interceptions, no impact. He was out of the league in 2 years. New England turned a 4th-round throwaway into the most feared passing attack the NFL had ever seen. The Raiders, once again, embarrassed themselves on the biggest stage of roster building. Few trades in league history were more lopsided, more humiliating, or more devastating to one franchise's reputation. The Seahawks steal Marshawn Lynch from the Bills. October 2010, the Seattle Seahawks pulled off one of the most lopsided trades of the decade. They acquired Marshawn Lynch from the Buffalo Bills for a 4th-round pick and a conditional 5th. That's it, 2 mid-rounders for a player who would soon redefine the identity of an entire franchise. Buffalo had drafted Lynch 12th overall in 2007 and signed him to a 6-year, $19 million rookie deal. He opened his career strong, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, 17 total touchdowns, and a Pro Bowl nod. But after a 2009 suspension and the rise of Fred Jackson and rookie CJ Spiller, Lynch fell out of favor. By 2010, the Bills had given up. They dumped him before his rookie contract even expired. Seattle inherited the rest of that deal, just $2 million per year. Backup level money for a running back about to unleash a new era of dominance. In his first full season with the Seahawks in 2011, Lynch racked up 1,204 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns. That same season, he authored one of the most iconic plays in NFL history, the Beast Quake, a 67-yard, 9-tackle breaking run against New Orleans that literally made the stadium shake. It was a play that announced Seattle's arrival as a different kind of team, physical, violent, relentless, and Lynch only got better. From 2012 through 2014, he averaged 1,300 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns per season. He led the NFL in rushing touchdowns twice, made 4 straight Pro Bowls, and carried the Seahawks to back-to-back Super Bowls, winning one and coming one play away from another. Only after his dominance was undeniable did Seattle finally reward him with a 4-year, $31 million extension. The Bills, their haul evaporated. The 2011 fourth rounder became tackle Chris Hairston, who started 15 games in 4 seasons before disappearing. The conditional fifth turned into linebacker Tank Carter, who never played a single snap for Buffalo. By the time Lynch was dragging defenders into the end zone, neither of Buffalo's return picks was even on the roster. Buffalo gave up on a first-round talent too soon. Seattle gave him the ball and let him bulldoze the league. The result wasn't just a trade win, it was the creation of beast mode and the birth of a champion. The Rams steal Marshall Faulk from the Colts. April 1999, the St. Louis Rams made the deal that transformed their franchise forever. They acquired Marshall Faulk from the Indianapolis Colts for just a 2nd-round pick and a 5th-round pick. 2 mid-rounders for one of the most complete running backs the NFL has ever seen. Faulk was already a star in Indianapolis. In 5 seasons, he rushed for over 1,000 yards 4 times, caught nearly 300 passes, and scored 42 total touchdowns. In 1998, he led the entire league with 1,227 yards from scrimmage. But his rookie contract, 6 years, $17.2 million, was expiring, and Faulk wanted a raise. The Colts, focused on building around a young Peyton Manning, chose not to pay him. Instead, they dealt him away. The Rams wasted no time. They signed Faulk to a 7-year, $45 million extension, massive money for a running back at the time, and the return was historic. In 1999, Faulk totaled 2,429 yards from scrimmage, won Offensive Player of the Year, and led St. Louis to a Super Bowl championship. In 2000, he followed it up with 2,189 total yards, 26 touchdowns, and the NFL MVP award. In 2001, he delivered 2,147 yards and 21 more scores, earning another Offensive Player of the Year and another Super Bowl appearance. In 3 years, Faulk racked up over 6,700 total yards and 61 touchdowns, while stacking 3 straight Offensive Player of the Year awards and an MVP. He became the centerpiece of the greatest show on turf, an offense that rewrote the record books and changed football forever. And what did Indianapolis get in return? With their 2nd rounder, they drafted linebacker Mike Peterson, a solid starter who left after 4 years. With their 5th rounder, they took defensive end Brad Cioli, who lasted 5 seasons as a role player. Neither came close to delivering the impact Faulk did in St. Louis. The Colts gave up a Hall of Fame running back in his prime. The Rams got a legend who carried them to a championship and fueled one of the greatest offensive dynasties ever assembled. The Bills land Stefon Diggs from the Vikings March 2020. The Buffalo Bills pulled off a trade that changed the entire direction of their franchise. They sent a package of picks to the Minnesota Vikings, a 1st rounder, a 5th, a 6th, and a future 4th. And in return, they landed wide receiver Stefon Diggs. At the time, Diggs was frustrated in Minnesota. He had just signed a 5-year, $72 million extension in 2018, but the Vikings' run-heavy offense capped his impact. In 2019, he caught only 63 passes, his lowest total since his rookie season. though he still managed 1,130 yards and 6 touchdowns. He wanted a bigger stage, a bigger role, and a quarterback who could unlock his full ability. Buffalo gave him all of it. They took on the remainder of his contract, which was a bargain compared to the exploding wide receiver market, at just $11 to $12 million per year. The return was immediate. In 2020, his first year as a Bill, Diggs erupted for 127 catches, 1,535 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He led the NFL in both receptions and yards, with Diggs as his top target. Josh Allen's passer rating when throwing his way was an elite 114.9. The Bills reached the AFC Championship, their deepest playoff run in decades. And for the first time in a generation, Buffalo had an offense that scared people. Since arriving in Buffalo, Diggs has been relentlessly consistent. He's averaged 108 catches, 1,320 yards, and 10 touchdowns per season. He's made 4 straight Pro Bowls, earned a first-team All-Pro selection, and solidified himself as one of the most precise route runners and dependable playmakers in football. Both teams walked away winners, but in different ways. Minnesota found their next superstar, while Buffalo got exactly what it needed: the #1 receiver who unlocked Josh Allen and turned the Bills into contenders. Few trades in NFL history produced this much firepower on both sides, but for Buffalo, Diggs wasn't just an addition. He was the spark that finally pulled the franchise out of its past and into the modern era of dominance. The Rams steal Matthew Stafford from the Lions, January 2021. The Los Angeles Rams went all in on a gamble that reshaped their franchise overnight. They sent Jared Goff, 2 first-round picks, and a 3rd-rounder to the Detroit Lions for veteran quarterback Matthew Stafford. It was one of the most expensive trades for a quarterback in league history, and the Rams paid every cent of it. The financial stakes were massive. Stafford carried the final 2 years of a 5-year, $135 million extension, with salaries of about $20 million per season. On top of that, the Rams had to absorb Goff's bloated 4-year, $134 million contract, including $110 million guaranteed. Los Angeles didn't just trade draft capital, they mortgaged their future and their salary cap, betting everything on Stafford's arm. And in year 1, he proved them right. Stafford threw for 4,886 yards and 41 touchdowns in the 2021 regular season, tying Kurt Warner for the franchise's single-season record in scoring throws. In the playoffs, he outdueled Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, took down San Francisco in the NFC Championship, and capped it off with 3 touchdown passes in Super Bowl LVI. His final drive against Cincinnati, a 15-play, 79-yard march ending with the game-winning strike to Cooper Kupp, delivered the Rams their first Lombardi trophy since returning to Los Angeles. It was immediate validation. The Rams had paid a staggering price, but they bought themselves a championship in Stafford's very first year. Detroit's side of the deal took longer to evaluate, but it wasn't a waste. Jared Goff found new life, throwing 30 touchdowns with just 12 interceptions in 2023 and leading the Lions to their first playoff berth in years. The 2 first-round picks turned into explosive young talents. Wide receiver Jamison Williams, a deep threat with elite speed, and running back Jahmyr Gibbs, who became a dual threat weapon out of the backfield. Together, they helped transform Detroit from a perennial rebuild into one of the NFC's rising powers. Both franchises benefited, but only one walked away with a ring in hand. For Los Angeles, the Stafford gamble wasn't just worth it. It was the difference between being remembered as contenders and being remembered as champions. If you want more stories of NFL greatness and collapse, hit subscribe, drop a like, and stick around. The next chapter of football history is already waiting.